All right, so a quick American update of the coronavirus now pandemic. 46 states in the U.S. have at least one case of the coronavirus. At least 5 states with a death right now. It's Thursday morning, March 12th. Compare that to 3 days ago, 72 hours ago. 35 states, 72 hours ago. Now 46 states with at least one confirmed case of coronavirus. 1,323 cases, confirmed cases. As we know, that number is dramatically increasing. 38 deaths in America and 8 recoveries. It's been lingering at 8 recoveries for some time now. All right, so 1323. That's how many cases we have. That's 134% increase in the last 72 hours. 38 deaths as compared to 22. 16 more, 2 more states, I believe, as we had 3 days ago. So we're seeing the last 3 days, 72 hours, an increase of 34.8% per day. It's an exponential. 32.8% per day equals out to an increase of 134% for 3 days. Now we are climbing to where the actual number is. We're not there yet. Mike Pence just did a live event where he discussed how the CDC is going to handle these testing kits. We're going to have a lot more testing kits. We're going to have a lot more people being tested, and these testing kits are getting better and better. So we're going to see this rapid rise continue of confirmed cases. That doesn't mean that that's how fast the virus is growing in the U.S. Let's compare this to a flu, which is every person with the flu was spreading it to about 1.3 up to 1.5 people. So if I had the flu, for instance, I'd spread it to 1 to 2 people, closer to 1, on average 1.3 people. Coronavirus, it's closer to 2.5 to 3, a little bit closer to 3. So instead of the flu, where an average person would spread it to 1.3 people, now it's closer to 3. So it's spreading a lot quicker. As we know, the flu season started early October, so it had several months several months of a head start as compared to the coronavirus, which is spreading a lot quicker, has a much higher death rate, mortality rate. So we expect the spread and the death toll to increase about 15 to 25% per day. That'll put us at about 15 million people at the end of April, which is pretty dramatic for confirmed cases. Right now, the mortality rate outside of China is about 3.4. Including China, it's just over 3.6. I don't like to include China because I think their numbers are flawed. They're an authoritarian government without a free press at all. And we know that they've lied about this specific issue among several other significant issues since December. So I do not trust China's numbers. But globally, outside of China, we're looking at 15% to 25% increase per day in confirmed cases. And the death toll fluctuates, but it'll roughly stay with the confirmed cases. So something to keep in mind, we might not test everyone that actually has the virus. Something else to keep in mind, about a million beds, hospital beds in the U.S. right now. That's expanding, but right now about a third to half of those are occupied by people with different ailments such as the flu or something maybe even more severe. So as we cross the line in a few weeks of hitting hundreds of thousands of people, this is going to dramatically create like a funnel. We have like a funnel of how much we can handle in terms of nurses, medication, doctors, beds, living environments. For instance, Seattle bought a hotel to house, to quarantine people, basically. We know that we're not going to catch everyone that has a case, so that's going to make the denominator increase, which makes the mortality rate decrease. But with that being said, we know that there are factors that's going to make the numerator increase, such as limited medication, beds, hospitals being limited on doctors and nurses, etc. And we also know that with this being a pandemic, there's going to be chaos. So reactionarily, there's going to be deaths that are not specifically included with the coronavirus, but other deaths outside of that indirectly are going to occur, whether it might be the flu because of the restrictions of beds, medication, etc. That's going to increase, and different ailments like that that might be not as severe as the coronavirus, but that's going to actually present a more problematic outcome. So we got to worry about those reactions. We got to make sure that we don't overreact. For instance, so I went to a supermarket in Indiana yesterday morning at 3 a.m. Full of isopropyl, 91% or 70%. We want at least 60% to kill the necessary coronavirus wherever it may lie. Like, for instance, to clean your hands effectively. So about 16 hours later, completely sold out. Signs saying that they are unavailable in the whole store temporarily, which we're seeing more of that. You don't want to go to these supermarkets and catch the virus as well. But we see what happens on Black Friday. People go nuts. A lot of people contained in these environments, and there becomes panic very rapidly. And this can increase tenfold as compared to Black Friday because Americans are nuts. So that's something to think about. But in terms of medication, the leading causes that you have to worry about in terms of severe conditions, pneumonia and sepsis. Sepsis is where you basically have germs and bacteria and whatnot that go inside your blood, and that can kill you, just like pneumonia. You can get both of them. That could be very, very deadly. Each of those are deadly in themselves. So that's something to think about. Get medication that can handle those. Get medication that can bring fevers down, and that can help your body start to recover from the coronavirus. Get medication that you would get for the flu. That's been put out by the CDC. So that's something smart that you can do. So we're seeing a lot of social events. We saw this starting in Washington for America. We see this ever so, abruptly in Italy, where everything from schools to religious ceremonies and funerals are basically disallowed for the whole country, and there's even tighter restrictions, very, very tight. If that's not tight enough, there's very tight restrictions in northern Italy, where there's about 15 million people, where if you leave certain locations, you'll be put in jail for 3 months. I'm glad we don't have those authoritarian views in America, but we can see that might help in some ways, but freedom versus security. I lean on the side of freedom. So in terms of social events being canceled, we see a lot of music labels. For instance, I play metal. We see a lot of music labels canceling all shows for all the bands that they cover. We see big festivals being canceled. We see NBA just ended their season. They suspended their season. They ended it indefinitely. NFL is talking, they have their draft in Las Vegas next month in April. They're talking about possibly making some changes, limiting the exposure in terms of family members. These are young kids. A lot of them are 20. Well, not kids, but very young adults that are basically kids. Tough young adults, but they want their family members to go, and we seen Haskins last year. He wasn't there. He got the information from a phone call, I believe, from the Washington Redskins. Not to drop any racist words, I know that can be deemed racist, Redskins. We might see more of that. NCAA, for instance, basketball. They are restricting their games. It's March Madness. to where only very restricted family members and very substantial personnel, such as coaches and whatnot, the players, can go to the games. No outside fans and such. We've seen a lot of marathons being canceled in the U.S. Surprisingly, I think it was March 8th. So just a few days ago, the Los Angeles Marathon happened, which didn't make sense to me. I was surprised by that, as Los Angeles is definitely in the top 5 in terms of epidemics in the U.S. specifically. So I was surprised by that. And now we know that 26 countries, starting Friday at midnight, for 30 days, 26 countries in Europe, you cannot travel from those countries in the U.S. I know of one band, for instance, where they just went to Europe yesterday, and I think yesterday afternoon they arrived there. Heard about this. They were going to be on tour in Europe. Tour was canceled, and then they heard about what Trump said last night, and basically they have a day to get back to the U.S. All that time and money wasted sucks, but you gotta see where this goes, I guess. But that's the basic updates. Like if you like the video, subscribe if you may. I'm gonna do some more updates. I just had a kid, so I'm kind of catching up back to things. I'm trying to lean off Facebook as much as possible. I want to bring the discussions more here. I like science. I like maths. Like natural science specifically. I like dystopian themes. Obviously, this isn't dystopian, but it's very dystopian-like. I love studying vaccines and pandemics and whatnot, and looking at distributions and threshold rates in terms of different ways and looking at it and the lens of physics and math, and seeing how things are applied in terms of decreasing like MERS and stuff like that. And we for instance, we don't have a vaccine for any coronavirus, H1N1 and swine flu. We've had similar vaccines for flu, so it's easy to get a flu vaccine. Swine flu, I think it took 13 months, now it's expected to take 18 months for the coronavirus vaccine if we're lucky. Now we'll see how this goes. I plan on doing some more videos in terms of running and whatnot. My first ultra, I have that planned for I think it's June 2nd, so we're very early June, and less than 3 months. But that'll probably be canceled, and it makes sense. We'll see how this goes. All right, peace out. Subscribe if you want.